I just got back from a work trip to sunny Florida where it was 80 degrees, humid, and nothing like this. This morning we got a sprinkling of snow. It has been abnormally chilly here. We went from a pretty warm fall, and overnight it felt like we just started getting really cold temperatures. So this snow, or it's not even real snow, but it's a dusting, wasn't even in the forecast, but we did drop down to the teens. So I thought I'd do a quick update around what happens this time of year in December for someone who farms, we'll call it year round because I am doing winter tulips, but also an acknowledgement that I am really behind this year on a lot of things. There is cleanup that still has to get done, which at this point, I'm just gonna wait until I get to December holiday season. I'm gonna have about like a week and a half off, which is really, really nice. But there's just a lot of cleanup that needs to get done. Most importantly though, I wanna see how my ranunculus is doing. Now, before I went to my work trip, I saw in the forecast that we were going to get down into the teens. So specifically, we got down to 17 degrees the night that I got home for a few hours. And I would say that it's not atypical for us to get down to those degrees here, but maybe like 3 times most during the winter season, and that probably happens sometime in like January, February. So I can't remember the last time it happened this early in December. But regardless, this year, I made a commitment, and that was if E had clear scans, I would really try my best to overwinter ranunculus and buy high quality caterpillar tunnel systems to do it. Because for years I had done my own thing. I tried to just scrap things together. And honestly, like even though I can do it, the quality is not great. The sides end up flapping up, and once the wind picks the bottom, the whole thing lifts up. So I knew I needed a better system, and I just didn't have the time to start cobbling everything together. So hence why I bought this kit. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this kit because it is amazing. This low cat tunnel kit is from a company called Never Sink Farm Tools. This is not all sponsored by them. They don't know I'm doing this, but I just want to talk about how amazing the quality is. It took me very, very little time to get this up. I would say it took me about 25 minutes in totality from the moment I took the stakes out from the box. I had ordered these in the late summer, so they were just sitting in the pole barn. I took the stakes out, put them in the ground, and my father-in-law helped me basically put the cover over, as well as these little they're these cords to secure the frost cloth to this. So overall, it was a really short period of time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncover these and see how they're looking. One of the things about tunnels as a whole is you can't keep them on. Like, it's not set it and forget it, because there does need to be some more sun, some more airflow, or else you run into issues with disease. So let's start taking this apart. There are many instances in life where you get what you pay for, and this is one of those instances. This is not a cheap kit. I'll put the price up on the screen, but I think it will pay itself back, both based off of the longevity in which this will survive, but also the ease in which I will be able to cover and uncover and have a level of security knowing that everything's tight and the wind's not going to lift anything off. So in the past, I would use things like bricks and all these things to try to like stake the cover into the ground. And ultimately, I would always get like 1 or 2 windstorms that were just too powerful and would lift it up. All right, so start coming over here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna open up only halfway because the sun is facing this way. So that's why I'm opening it this way, but this looks great. I'll show you after what it looks like. Okay, there we go. Look at that, that looks great. There's already a hole here. This is pretty impressive here. I've got a few types of plants underneath the tunnel in addition to the ranunculus. You can see some stalk. I still have some flowering stalk that is doing decently well. Obviously not cut flower quality, but my intent is to cut this to the base And the reason why I haven't cut it yet is because I'm curious to see how well these leaves will do throughout our winter. And I will cut it down basically whenever I feel like the plant needs it cut. But you can see I've got a bunch of things here. This is stock. We've got the ranunculus over here that's already looking pretty good. Fortunately, I've had a critter in here that's been chewing on some of the ranunculus. That's also why I wanted to cover it, to give it a little bit more protection over here. We've got some sweet William. This is direct seeded sweet William. So I'm also hoping that by covering, I'll be able to get these a little bit earlier. And we've got a ton of self-seeded red mustard green. So those are more for culinary use, but you can see that they are putting on growth. And I swear that these actually grew while they were in the tunnel, because they were definitely not this beefy. This is really great for stir fry, for salads and things like that. And I just had one mustard green plant go to seed, and I think I let like one branch fully go to seed, and this is what happens. There's like hundreds of these seedlings. I don't know if you could see all the way in there. So this will give me an earlier crop of purple greens to eat in the spring, and I might even be able to harvest them throughout the winter if they continue growing a bit. But you can see we've got mostly ranunculus over here. Some of them were munched on, some of them are fine. And then we've got some anemones over here. Now the anemones don't need to be covered, but because they are in this row, I figured I might as well just cover and see what happens. And actually I had some garlic here too, which you can see something might have dug up the garlic over there. But more anemones, and then that's the end. It took me a really long time to pull the trigger on buying these low cat tunnels, again, because of the price. And if I could rewind back in time, I would have done a lot earlier, and I wouldn't have all of this like plastic irrigation tubing, rebar lying around. I ended up spending more money than I should have for something like this, because this is going to last forever. It stores really easily. Everything about it is just like really optimized and quality, versus maybe I spent something that was like a third of the cost of this. Not only is it a pain to take apart, store, it didn't even work. So perhaps if I had done this earlier and had success, I would have been growing more ranunculus in the spring. And that's one of the things that I continue to really evaluate, is what are the things that I had to bootstrap during the early years because I just didn't have the money, and what are things really worth spending money on. And I truly believe that if you want early spring flowers, you don't have a high tunnel, or if you have a high tunnel, you still need to typically cover your crops in that high tunnel. Get something that's high quality, especially if you are someone who may not have the tools and the patience to create something on your own that's going to be just as good. So I have another one of these actually. They're still in the pole barn, and that means that I'll be able to create another row, more probably for vegetables. But I want to show you what is still alive right now. And I want to preface by saying that just because it's alive right now doesn't mean it's going to be alive at the end of the season. It's still relatively early. Sometimes it takes multiple hits of frost for things to die. But I want to show you how hardy things are. Of particular interest to me, because we're growing a lot more of our food, is this chard. Again, I've said it many times, the chard is the MVP. It's frozen so many times, and it doesn't seem to somehow impact the cellular structure of the leaves, which to me is just fascinating and nuts. This is perennialized Rudbeckia that is definitely goner, but you could technically save the seed over here. Just like take the whole seed head off and then bury it somewhere else. And although there's a lot of seeds in here, you're gonna get amazing germination. And then once it pops up, you can start transplanting. You get rid of that over there, but you can see there's some more. We've got different kinds of chard. And now over here, we've got some, this is broccoli rabe that I've already harvested. So just got some leaves left, but we've got anemones over here. So these are uncovered and they're obviously doing fine. They should be able to fully thrive uncovered here. So I'm curious to see how the stem length as well as timing will be between covered and uncovered. This is some, I think it's curly blue kale. So this is really for the spring. This here continues to amaze me. This is Snapdragon. This is Avignon 2. Can't remember if it's group 1 or group 2, but it is a cooler bred variety. You can see that the leaves are still fine, and it's still like trying to flower. There's just not enough day length hours to do so, but these look great. And they're in right now because I just want to see how they're going to do. And at a certain point, I will also cut them down to the base and hope that I get a flush for the spring. Right now, I feel like it's promising that I may not need to cover them and they will still come back. You can see I've got some ranunculus here. These were the fall trial ranunculus. The buds are definitely damaged by frost, but the plant is still trying to stay alive. And so I hope by showing this, you see how hardy things like ranunculus are, especially once they've been established. Like, that's the key thing, is that you can't put a seedling into the ground and expect it to survive this. It's got to be somewhat established. So these were also uncovered and they're fine. But in order for these to truly make it through the full winter, I do think I need to cover them. But they're a little too big. Part of the problem with having too much leaf growth, I've heard, and then covering, is that they're going to be susceptible to botrytis. Though I wonder if I'm more diligent about uncovering, and it's not in a high tunnel, whether or not that would work. But I'm not going to do it for like 6 plants here. Bok choy is a very hardy type of vegetable, so no surprise that it's done well there. You could see there's still some more chard. Over here, we've got mum row, which is all done now. These do need to be clipped to the bottom. This is what I'm saying. We've got a lot of cleanup that still needs to get done. So that's going to get done sometime in late December. This is some self-seeded foxglove. It looks really great. When it gets really cold, this stuff does end up shriveling. But because there's so much cover right now, it also does help protect the foxglove here. So sometimes not cleaning up immediately is not a bad thing, because it does help some of the lower lying things get a bit of protection. This is a Chinese cabbage, winter choy or winter cabbage. I forget the name. It's from Baker Creek, but it has also done really, really well. So of course, my regret is always I don't grow enough of the greens that I know are going to do well, but hopefully next year we're going to be a lot better about that. This is the plastic irrigation tubing I was talking about that I used to create low tunnels before. It's really soft. PVC piping was really expensive at the time, which is why I didn't use it. This as a whole is not meant to hold up for significant snow load. In the year that I seriously did it, we didn't have a lot of snow, luckily, but last year we did have decent amount of snow, and that definitely wouldn't have held up. I would say in the past few years, I've been pretty diligent about putting leaves on top of rows. This year, for some reason, it felt like we didn't have a ton of leaves falling. So because we took out the deer fence around here, it was really easy for Eric to just come and dump the leaves over here, and then I just spread it out. Normally, I would also go over this with like a mower to crush them, because you don't want them to be super big and matty, but just haven't had the time to do it. And so we basically only have leaves over here and leaves right over there in that pile, and that's it. So a lot less leaf mulch this year, and that means that whatever needs to survive over the winter is just gonna have to do it on its own. But I want to show you the last row over here. Again, like so much stuff that just needs to get cleaned up. This is intercropping of campanula and anemones. So here's the campanula. I started these from seed, and of course something has come in and also tried to eat some of these. Then we do have anemones, which seem to not be very tasty. Knock on wood right now. I haven't seen this being eaten as much as some of the other stuff like ranunculus. So we've got anemones, campanula, which realistically at this point I don't know if it's going to survive the critter, not the winter. It should be able to survive here. I did grow a few years ago, overwintered it, try to cover it, and the parts that I covered definitely did survive, and the parts that I didn't cover also survived. It just flowered a lot later. This inadvertently turned into like a mini December farm tour. But we are in the beginning of the summer right now. There's a lot of things that need to get done. And herein lies the problem with doing winter tulips. It's the fact that you really never get a chance to like fully rest. So I bought all of my pre-chilled tulips from Ampersand Bulb Company. They had to basically fit shipping all of their bulbs within like a 2.5 week window because there were strikes in the Netherlands. So it delayed them receiving product. Anyway, I'm not getting product until probably early next week, which is the latest that I've ever gotten my tulip bulbs. But I told them it was totally fine because usually I try to hit late December for tulips. And this year I was just like, I'm just going to start in January. So I am projecting my first pickup to be probably that like later second weekend of January, like January 11th to be exact. It's a Sunday. And in my CSA made it really clear that there's a possibility it might get delayed. But I think I can still make it even if the tulip bulbs arrive next week. So when they arrive, I need to do the usual stuff like root them. But the pole barn right now is still a bit of a mess. So I need to clean up the space to make sure that I have the infrastructure there for rooting, making sure the trays are clean. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it is probably a couple of hours in the afternoon to make sure all that is prepped so that by the time the bulbs come to me, I'm not in a rush. I am also reselling some of the bulbs. I'm not reselling a lot. I have some left over if you're interested in trying winter tulips. It's on my website, but I'm going to get those out as soon as possible to folks next week. So that's winter tulips. I would say that the next thing I spend a lot of time on over the winter, as most flower farmers should do, is on marketing. And it's more important for me this year because I'm full on in retail. I have a really clear picture of what that retail channel looks like, which is going to be a mix of CSA plus selling at country stores and bouquet pop-ups. So what does that look like for me? That looks like reaching out to businesses to start really building those relationships, start setting up dates for when I want to do those bouquet bars. I already have one set up during February, the weekend before Valentine's Day. Because again, that helps me plan with how many tulips I need to root at a certain point in time to make sure I get a certain amount by February. But you can start planning ahead in the spring if you're not doing winter tulips. If you have field tulips coming in and you don't really have a huge customer base, start thinking about how you're going to offload them. I've got about, I would say, I think it's 2,000 tulips. You can't see it. It's all the way in the back. It's like in landscaping now. We basically are doing tulips away from the field. And a part of that is space, but it's more to the fact that anything that you import in like bulbs, corms, they're going to be sprayed. I've done a bit of research into this. The half-life of those chemicals is really not long enough where it's going to significantly change, like if you're growing something next to it. But because of how big tulip bulbs are, how closely we pack them to each other, and the sheer amount that we grow, I just wanted them away. And so obviously, like I'm still growing ranunculus and anemones here, but the corms are a lot smaller. I don't grow thousands upon thousands of them. So to me, there's this like risk-reward trade-off here, right? So anyway, I've got about 2,000 tulips over there, and I'm trying a new experiment this year where they're going to be basically all singles. I have a couple of crates coming in of the pre-chilled ones that I might actually also put in there for field tulips just to give a little bit of variety. Those are also like double fringes that need a little bit more cooling time, tend to be a little bit harder to force, at least for me hydroponically, so I might put some more in there. But the point is that with my current channels, I don't have enough of a customer base to basically be confident enough that I'm going to sell them all in one go. This year was different because we had Easter a little bit later. Next year, Easter is too early for me to have tulips. So I need to have a plan in terms of how I'm going to offload those. So again, that could look like a bouquet bar. I think a bouquet bar is actually a really good idea, especially for spring grown tulips, because you get that heat wave coming in and all of them are going to be ready within a weekend. So if you can plan with a local business and say, hey, like, I don't know exactly yet what date, but I know it's going to be sometime in April, probably around this date. Like, would you be open to a bouquet bar? And then you can work with that business to adjust. If it's like a coffee shop that gets a lot of regular traffic, less of an issue if you're moving dates. If you're working with a business partner like me, which is a clothing store, then there might be a little bit more or less flexibility in terms of your ability to move dates. But you can reach out to multiple businesses. You can just see the appetite for that. So that's one thing that I'm doing. The other thing that I'm doing in terms of marketing is I am trying to build a content calendar for at least the next 3 months so that I post a little bit more frequently on Facebook especially. I do a good job of posting on my Instagram stories, which also feeds into Facebook stories, but I do want to be more religious and better about posting consistently on Facebook. So I would say that that is going to take up a decent amount of time, but perhaps the thing that takes up the most amount of my time in winter, especially this time of year, is content creation, because I am doing the 12 days of Patreon. We're about to enter into day 5 tomorrow. We're actually having a meetup online. So it's a marketing masterminds meetup. It's going to be free for anyone who wants to join. All you have to do is sign up on my Patreon as a free member. The way you do it, if you can't find the free membership, I don't know why Patreon does this. It makes it a little bit hard to find, but there's 3 dots next to sign up to become a member. And then there's an option for free member. So sign up, because we've got the first 4 days up already, and it's all about marketing, getting clear on your customer, how to talk to that customer. And I did that exercise myself to further validate exactly what I just talked about in terms of my sales channels, who I should be reaching out to. So if you are lacking clarity on that, you want a little bit more direction on where to spend marketing efforts this year, I highly recommend you sign up for that free resource. Go through the work, do the templates. I give you tips on how to make sure that you can actually get through it, especially if you get stuck. And I've already had some feedback from people saying that it was a really enlightening exercise and really helped them get a lot more clear on where they need to focus. Because remember, if you don't have at least 1 or 2 clear customers in mind, you run the risk of being very scattered and trying to do everything, which is not the intent. The sun has already started going behind the clouds. This right now, even though there's no sun, is going to be great airflow for it to be open. So in the later afternoon, I'm going to close it again. And now I'm walking back into the pole barn. The last thing that I'm doing, that I'm hoping I get to be able to wrap up in the next couple of weeks, is shipping out any additional ranunculus and anemone corm orders that come in. So if you are someone who wants to grow in the spring, I think it's a little bit late to overwinter unless if you live in a very temperate climate. I still have some for sale, especially the beginner corms. I got a couple of colors late from the supplier, so I wasn't able to put them up before, so they are on a discount if you want to head on over. So we've got, I think it's Picote Cafe purple of the beginner ranunculus, and some of the anemone colors that are also on a slight discount if you're interested. So that's it for now. We've got a lot to do today, including cleanup. There's a bunch of trays there that need to get cleaned up. Oh, actually, I need to show you something. This is gross looking, but very fascinating. It's a bit hard to see in this mess because we've got leaves and snow in here. Believe it or not, these are daffodils in their 3rd year. These are truly cockroaches. Like, I left them in this tray, which is not a good idea, in like disgusting rotting water throughout the season. If it rained, that rainwater sat here for like weeks. Sometimes I would empty it, and I was just like, this tray is done, but let's just see what happens. And what do you know? We've got green sprouts coming out. Like, I am just so impressed with how robust these guys are. They really are like cockroaches. Like, I can't kill them. Like, at this point, it's become a joke. Like, how do I kill these daffodils? So I will let this thaw and then bring it in and see if I can force them, I guess, and see what happens. But yeah, if these don't die, I'm not going to dump them out because I'm truly curious to see what happens. All right, now on that note, I am out. We're going to hammer out a bunch of stuff, and hopefully I'll see you over tomorrow on the Masterminds Patreon session meetup.